Do you hate needles? Every time you hear the words weight loss drug, the first image that pops into your mind isn't the thinner version of yourself. It's not you finally fitting into those jeans you've been holding onto for 3 years. It's a syringe you have to inject into your stomach, your thigh, or your arm. Once a week, 52 times a year, maybe for years. Good news, the world's first oral GLP-1 weight loss pill has arrived, and it works just as well as the injection. January 2026. The Danish pharmaceutical giant Novo Nordisk, the company behind Ozempic and Wegovy, launched something no one had managed before, a pill version of semaglutide for weight loss. A small white tablet, a glass of water every morning. No refrigerator, no alcohol swab, no counting down from 3 in your head. What this means goes far beyond the convenience of skipping an injection. For years, GLP-1 drugs could only be delivered one way, through a needle. The reason is frustratingly simple. Semaglutide is a peptide. Drop a peptide into your stomach, and stomach acid tears it apart, the same way your stomach digests everything else you eat. To bypass the digestive system entirely, you had no choice but to inject. But Novo Nordisk's scientists found a way around this. They discovered and refined a molecule called SNAC, that stands for sodium N, 8,2-hydroxybenzoyl aminocaprylate, but no one needs to remember that. What SNAC does is elegantly simple. It temporarily adjusts the local pH of your stomach lining, creating a microenvironment where semaglutide molecules survive long enough to slip through the stomach wall and into your bloodstream. The digestive barrier that once destroyed the drug before it could do anything now lets it pass through. A pill, a sip of water, that's it. And now you want to ask the obvious question, does the pill version really work as well as the injection? The clinical data from Novo Nordisk delivered an answer that caught a lot of people off guard. People who take one pill every day lose exactly the same amount of weight as people who inject themselves once a week, 16 to 17% of total body weight. Statistically indistinguishable, same outcome, same significance, same real-world impact. If you weigh 200 pounds, you lose about 34 pounds. If you weigh 260 pounds, you lose over 40 pounds. Not close enough, not nearly as good, identical in the rigorous language of a randomized controlled trial. Time magazine featured this breakthrough in its 2026 Time 100 Health List, a carefully curated annual roster of the most important innovators in global medicine. And the person driving this launch forward is someone whose own story reads less like a corporate bio and more like a novel. Mike Doustdar was 12 years old when his family fled Iran in the midst of political upheaval. They landed in Austria. He didn't speak a word of German. As a teenager, he took a summer job at Novo Nordisk, not in research, not in management, not in strategy, but making photocopies. More than 3 decades later, he became the CEO of the largest insulin and GLP-1 drug company on the planet. Doustdar says that experience taught him 2 things: resilience and how to deal with uncertainty. A 12-year-old starting from zero in a foreign country and a pharmaceutical giant trying to reclaim its footing in the most competitive drug market of the decade. There is something about that pairing that makes you lean in. He was tapped as CEO last summer with a clear mandate: win back market share from Eli Lilly. Lilly's Zepbound, at higher doses, was delivering stronger weight loss results than Wegovy, and Novo Nordisk was losing ground. The oral pill changed the competitive landscape in a single quarter. Here's something you probably didn't see coming. The pill version isn't just more convenient, it's actually cheaper. Not because of a sale, not because of a temporary discount, not because of some program that expires at the end of the fiscal year, simply because it costs less to manufacture a tablet than to build a sterile injection pen. An injection pen requires sterile filling, precision mechanical assembly, and cold chain logistics. Every single pen, every mile of its journey, maintained at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. From a factory in Denmark to a pharmacy in Arizona, no link in the refrigerated chain can break. A tablet, by contrast, is compressed powder with a thin coating, shipped at room temperature from Denmark to anywhere. No ice, no coolant gel packs, no refrigerated trucks. That manufacturing delta shows up at the pharmacy counter in a way that's hard to ignore. Novo Nordisk spent months negotiating pricing directly with the White House. The outcome: if you pay out of pocket, your starting dose will cost $149 a month. The 2 higher doses will cost $299 a month. These prices apply whether you are paying cash or covered by Medicare. And here is the number that makes you stop. If you have private commercial insurance and your plan covers this drug, your copay could be as low as $25 a month. $25 is roughly what you would spend on a decent dinner for 2 in New York, a full tank of gas in Los Angeles, or a monthly streaming subscription plus a few coffees. Yet that's the barrier to entry for a drug that can take 16% of your body weight off. Doustdar was remarkably candid about the philosophy behind this pricing. He said that any agreement has to be a win-win, not a zero-sum game. On one hand, American operating costs are genuinely different from European ones. You cannot stamp the same price across continents and expect the economics to work. But on the other hand, and this is the part that matters, if the price is too high, you never reach the bigger market. And reaching the bigger market is the entire point of this pill. The logic is devastatingly straightforward. Lower the price, more people can afford it. More people can afford it, production scales up. Production scales up, cost per dose drops further. This isn't a discount, it's a flywheel. There are approximately 2 billion people worldwide who are overweight or obese and might benefit from drugs like this. Doustdar put it directly: we are only touching a very small part of the population in need. Sit with that sentence for a moment. The oral pill isn't a more convenient version of an existing product. It's a scale revolution disguised as a tablet. Now close your eyes and picture your morning. You wake up, brush your teeth, fill a glass of water, drop one small white pill into your palm, and swallow. Not pulling an injection pen out of the refrigerator, not tearing open an alcohol swab, not calculating a 90-degree angle, not finding somewhere safe to dispose of a used needle. And in a lot of places, medical sharps disposal isn't exactly a convenient errand. For the roughly 1 in 10 people who experience needle phobia, a real clinically recognized, sometimes debilitating anxiety response, the oral pill is something closer to liberation. No more 10-minute psychological warm-up before every weekly dose. No more closing your eyes while your partner or your parent does it for you. No more of the quiet shame that comes with knowing a tiny piece of metal is keeping you from the treatment you need. And it isn't just about the phobia. Think about the frequent traveler who lives out of a suitcase and cannot haul a cooler of injection pens through 3 airports every week. Think about the person living in an apartment where the refrigerator is unreliable. Think about the older adult whose hands don't grip as steadily as they used to, who struggles to press a pen firmly against their skin and hold it there for the full delivery. Think about anyone who has already developed hard nodules under their skin, a common side effect of repeated injections in the same area, and dreads finding yet another spot that hasn't already turned tough. A pill bottle replaces every piece of cold chain equipment, every syringe, every disposal container, every piece of mental real estate that an injection occupies in your week. This shift flips one essential thing about GLP-1 treatment. It stops being a decision that requires courage and turns into a habit that requires almost nothing. Consistency is where the real battle of weight loss takes place. You can summon the willpower to diet for a week. You can force yourself to the gym for 2 weeks straight. But 3 months, 6 months, a year, most people's willpower doesn't last that long, and that isn't a character flaw, that's human neurobiology. And that is why every weight loss pill, every diet fad, every detox program in modern history eventually circles back to the same three words: I gained it back. GLP-1 drugs, injected or swallowed, have a structural advantage that most conversations about weight loss overlook. They don't run on your willpower. Here is what is happening inside you. Every time you eat a meal, your gut releases a hormone called GLP-1. That hormone travels to your brain and carries a simple message: you are full, you can stop eating now. For many people living with obesity, this signaling pathway is impaired. The satiety signal is present, but it's too faint, and your brain doesn't hear it clearly enough to act on it. What semaglutide does is restore the volume on that signal. For the first time in perhaps years, you feel unequivocally what it means to be satisfied with what you have eaten, not stuffed, not restraining yourself through sheer discipline, just satisfied. And when this mechanism comes in the form of a morning pill instead of a needle that spikes your adrenaline, consistency transforms from a psychological obstacle into a muscle memory. The same way you brush your teeth. You don't wake up every morning and negotiate with yourself about whether today is a toothbrushing day. You just do it. The pill can work the same way. Sip of water, swallow, go live your life. Novo Nordisk isn't treating this pill as a finish line. Later this year, the company plans to launch a higher-dose injectable Wegovy. Clinical data shows weight loss around 20%, pulling even with Eli Lilly's Zepbound in head-to-head efficacy. Both companies are also researching a class of compounds called amylins, which could form a completely different foundation for the next generation of metabolic therapies. The pill isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. One footnote worth mentioning. For several years, the medical community held a quiet hope that semaglutide might protect the brain as it reshapes the body. The hypothesis was hypnotic. One drug, two diseases, both of them devastating, both of them slowed by the same molecule. The large clinical trial that could have confirmed this published its results in 2026. Patients on semaglutide showed no meaningful difference in cognitive decline compared to patients on placebo, and Novo Nordisk has formally ended its Alzheimer's research program. That result disappointed many people, scientists who had invested years in the hypothesis, and families watching a loved one slip away and praying for something, anything, to slow the erosion. But here is what Doustdar said afterward. He mentioned that semaglutide still possesses what he called a secret sauce, potential benefits his researchers haven't yet fully investigated. That phrase lingers, and it makes you wonder whether the molecule still has surprises left in it. Science works like this. You pose a question, the answer is not the one you hoped for, but if you stay curious and keep digging, you sometimes unearth something larger than what you originally came to find. 2 billion people are waiting, not for a weight loss drug that is more effective, not for one that works faster, but for one that is simple enough that you don't need to be brave to begin. A pill, a glass of water. Do you still hate needles? The person who hesitated to start treatment because of a single syringe. Was that you? Someone in your life? One of the millions who typed weight loss pill no injection into a search bar late at night, stared at the results and closed the window. The answer is here, not in 5 years, not pending some future clinical trial, right now. Same weight loss as the injection, 16 to 17% of your body weight. Pricing starting at $149 a month if you pay out of pocket, $25 with insurance coverage. You aren't the first person to be pushed back by a needle, but you might be among the first who never have to wrestle with it again. This isn't about the introduction of a new drug. This is about the removal of a fear.